Hey everybody, I'm the Pigglesworth, and welcome back to Alphacraft, the commentary. This is going to be episode 2, We Could Be a Hero. Now, in doing these open credits, I had basically wanted to morph it over the series as new builds and stuff came up, and really the only beginning build that I had was the house and one or two things around town, so I just went and did that. Oh man, this is this is the mountain base area how it first looked when we started out, just the natural generation. It's crazy how much has changed. Oh man, this is going to be real insane kind of going back and seeing things when they first start. Oh my gosh, yes, the traders with the llamas is kind of an interesting little mechanic that they added to the game. I'll be honest with you, in retrospect, I don't know that they really add that much to the game. They seem like more of a leather and lead factory than anything you would ever want to trade. Trading in general in Minecraft kind of seems weird because you have to do a lot of work to try and get emeralds, and I don't know. I wonder if someday they'll probably revisit that. But yeah, I had managed to, in between episodes, got myself a map and ran around the area that I was going to consider for where the base was going to go. And I don't even know at this point that I must have figured out that I was close to JJ and Wild, because you can kind of see their city in the upper left-hand corner of that map. But I think at that time they hadn't built out that far, and that's probably why at this point that I still thought I was safe to go. But basically, when I started on here, I had this concept for a base. Now, at the time of recording this commentary track, I'm still doing Alphacraft Season 2 episodes, so I haven't fully revealed to the audience what the whole point to my base is, what the lore and the story behind it and everything. But this was a base idea that I had come up with years back when I was playing on a server called Full Stack. I wanted to do this thing where it was a base built into a valley inside of a mountain, or valley inside a mountain. Wow, that's where the ravine ends up going. Spoiler alert, Piggy. And so I had gone and ended up building like a courtyard and a gate, but I never really got farther than that. Back at that time, I was still trying to formulate how I wanted to do episodes and stuff, and that's something that's kind of I don't know how other people come up with it. For myself, usually what I do whenever I have a series, there's something I want to say artistically in that series. There's some overarching story or project or idea. And so what I do is I come up with bullet points, specific things that I want to see happen through the course of that series. It's not always very detailed. Like in this series, I knew that I wanted to build a base. I wanted to build this mountain base, winter style mountain base that I had wanted to do in Full Stack and never really saw to completion. I knew that I wanted, years and years ago, there was this idea I wanted to build this kind of like a cave that had this circular round opening in the ceiling. And by looking out the ceiling, you could see that there was this enormous tree that was growing, and that the roots kind of made their way down through the ground. And so the thing that I built was a base or a place to live. I know in Minecraft you aren't really living, but you know what I mean. But like this area, the city or these structures or whatever, that kind of existed underneath the ground in an area that had washed out underneath the roots of a giant oak tree. And I've just never done that. I've never been able to like visualize it well enough in my mind to accomplish it. But I really like the idea of a carved out society, underground but not underground, kind of inside a mountain, with this giant open skylight that you could see in the middle of it. So what I had been looking for was a mountainous region because with vanilla generation building mountains and stuff, one, there's a bunch of materials I can work with right here that are at the surface level, and two, half of the work's already done. You've got kind of the mountain and valley area worked out, and so all I have to really do is start shaping the area and filling it in. So this area seemed perfect. It was kind of like this little circular valley area inside of a mountainous region. Pardon me. So that's why I had chosen this area to do this. Now, like I'd said before, starting every series, you pretty much are doing the same thing every time at the beginning, and so trying to come up with really, really interesting ways to tell that same story over and over again. I'm really good about rambling and running my mouth. So a lot of times I rely on that for a lot of the commentary, but you still have to come up with subject matter, what it is you want to accomplish in the episode. So usually what I do is for the entire series, I've got this overarching story that I want to tell. This generally some kind of major project that needs to be accomplished. So in Alphacraft Season 2, the major project is this mountain underneath the mountain type city society. So that's the main bullet point. And then, like I said, so we want to build a mountain. I want this really grand, gigantic gate. We need a giant open carved out inside the mountain. These are kind of the bullet points I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, these are the things we need to accomplish in this season. And so as the episodes progress, as the season progresses, you get to certain points where you're like, okay, what kind of project could I do for this episode? And you look at the overarching storyline that you're trying to accomplish. And, this is where I got the skeleton horses. Yeah, it's so funny. I haven't really seen these things generate. When they first got added to the game, my gosh, they seemed to generate almost every storm. And now they're really hard to find. But yeah, I've got, certain things that I want to do. And so in an episode, I say, okay, what can I do in this episode that could build on top of what I've already done and that could accomplish the next bullet point for this main story that we're trying to do. Now, from that point, once I decide what kind of a project we want to do for the episode, then you kind of, or for me, this, I say you in general, but this is the way that I do it. This is the pre-planning that I do. And it's funny because over time, people don't do it so much anymore, but it's still kind of a running joke that Piggy's always got a script. Because I've always got some kind of a plan, an outline, a basic structure to how I want things to play out. And the easiest way I can explain it is I come up with what I would like to see accomplished in an episode. But then it has to play out. You have to make it interesting somehow. I like to think that I make it interesting. I don't know that I do. But I would like to think that I do. And so what I end up doing is I have A-B points is what I call it. And so I know what I want to accomplish in the episode. I break it down into a few steps. And then I decide, when I hit record, where should I be starting this clip? And when I stop recording for this clip, where should I end up? So the beginning and the end of the clip is what I decide on. How do I want to start? How do I want to finish? And then everything in between it is generally improvised. I go about accomplishing the task that I've set for myself in the segment that you're watching. But I really have no plan as to how I'm going to accomplish it. I just play the game on screen. I make up the commentary as I go. Every once in a blue moon, I have one or two ideas of things I want to make sure I say, whether it be a certain kind of joke or do something. But usually what I do is I let my creativity decide how I want to do these things. So like, it's... say we want to have an episode like this episode, and here's the problem. I'm kind of commenting on these episodes. I don't sit and watch them to refresh my memory and then hit record. I'm doing the same thing I do in my episodes. I hit play on this and I just start recording commentary. So, say I set for myself the task that in this clip, I wanted to capture these skeleton horses. I wanted to introduce the idea that I've got a sugarcane farm going. And then I want to hint at what's going to happen here in a minute, which I kind of do remember what was going to happen. And so I just hit record and I reacted to the skeleton horses being there and kind of ran my mouth for a few minutes and whatnot. And then by the end of it, hopefully I've accomplished those tasks. So here I wanted to go ahead and bring you to the house and just show you some of the off-camera stuff that I had accomplished. Just kind of introduce the idea that I am gathering up some supplies and materials, show you that I do have an ender chest, things like that. Like sometimes if there's K1 Incorporated. I barely remember him. I think I just got to meet him once or twice. But you don't want to do so much off camera that when somebody sees it, they go, whoa, 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 where's this? Where did this come from? You always want to keep in the back of your mind that you're trying to unfold a story for the audience. And so there's certain things that, like that ender chest. The whole process of getting the materials for an ender chest, you've got to go find an enderman, kill them. They have to drop an ender pearl. You have to go into the nether, find a blaze, kill it. It has to drop a blaze rod, turn that into blaze powder to make an eye of ender. Then you have to go find some obsidian, but you have to have a diamond pick for the obsidian. Chop up the obsidian, and then you make an ender chest. That could be 10 minutes. That could be 2 hours. It just depends on luck of the draw. If you find a blaze and it drops a blaze rod, you find enderman and it drops, because we're talking about still at the beginning of a series. You may not necessarily made it to the end or have made it into the nether yet. So there's all this off-camera prep you got to do just to have an ender chest. But at the end of the day, I want an ender chest to show up in my house. So I do all this off-camera work to get that ender chest, and then I make sure to remind myself, when you record this clip, make sure that you show placing the ender chest so that part of the story makes sense. So when the audience sees that ender chest there, they were there with you on the journey of at least placing it. They saw you put it there. They're witnessing and experiencing this moving forward. Now, I'm not saying that the ender chest has any specific story. I'm just noticing that thing, and that kind of, catches my attention. Like I've got all these ores here. I'm not going to show you 30 minutes of me digging in the ground for it, but I can show you that I've got them in this chest real quick while I'm going about and doing other things. So you kind of want to be mindful of that as you're making videos. What are different storyline elements that shows progression, either in a story or in your gameplay, something like that, and hint at it. Allow it to show up on screen. Maybe comment on it for just a brief second, just enough so that the audience can come along with you as you as the character and see the story unfolding. There's nothing more frustrating than watching a storyline, so watching an episode somebody's doing, even a tutorial, and a step gets skipped because somebody forgot about it, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, how'd this happen? So, I'm trying to remember where these pickaxes came from. I think somebody had made them and given them to me, but I can't remember. Either that or I had managed to make them and enchant them. You know what I think it was? I think it was that I had fallen into a ravine and Spiderweb Ninja had rescued it for me right before Clear Lag got it, and so she returned it to my mailbox. But the whole point of this episode, and this is really great, when you're on servers with other people, they're doing things as well, and so you can interact with them. Maybe they have certain storylines running or things like that, and that can help you. You can use these things as filler. It's not like a throwaway episode, but you can use this as stuff to interact with, maybe while you're working on a big project in the background. You haven't quite finished it, but you still want something interesting going. So there was this whole storyline of Stina Rose. She had been naming different animals and creatures that she had. She had this one thing called a chicken of knowledge, and there's Ferd hiding up there. I remember that. But she had this chicken of knowledge that she had put a name tag on, and I think in the course of working on her base, it had disappeared, and she didn't know where it went. So she actually went through a whole episode of getting a bunch of wool and building an area out of wool that when you looked at a map, it looked like that. Have you seen this chicken? So I decided, okay, that's what I want this episode to be about. Is we had talked about it in the background as a server. Hey, anybody want to be involved with this chicken and knowledge storyline? Help yourself to it. And so I sat there for a minute, and what I like to do is I present myself with a question, and then I try to answer it in a very unique way that I would answer it, whether it be a joke or just being silly or sarcastic or troll-like, whatever it is. So the idea was, I'm going to say that I found the chicken of knowledge. Now, in reality, I have no time on the server to run around and find this chicken and actually find it. But I thought it would be fun to say, hey, I found your chicken, and honestly act like I thought that I found it. So I sat there and I thought about it. Chicken of knowledge, knowledge, looking at the word knowledge, just, looking at all the aspects of a chicken, a name tag chicken, a chicken that doesn't despawn, just a chicken that's her pet, just all these different words and things. And finally it kind of popped in my head. Chicken of knowledge. You look at the word knowledge and it's spelt K-N-O-W, know, like you know something, ledge, L-E-D-G-E, like a ledge, the edge of a steep hill or something that's got a drop off, or the edge of a walkway on the side of a mountain. So I'm like, the chicken of like not knowledge, but K-N-O-W, which is pronounced know, like I know something, but also the word know sounds like the word N-O, no. So I was like, oh, I could do a little pun. That would be fun. It's the chicken of no ledge. So it's this chicken that's in a flat area. It's not near a ledge. So it's the chicken of no ledge. Hey, Stina, I found your chicken. He was right here on the flat ground. The chicken of no ledge. So that is the crazy line of logic in my brain that allowed me to come up with this silly little caveat. I think that's the right word. I might be using that word wrong. But anyway, so yeah, I was like, okay, so I'm going to make up this whole little thing, and I'll build this little chicken pen, and this will be my silly little way of saying, hey, Stina, I found the chicken of no ledge. Here you go. Because I think each person that does it, we had tried to each figure out a unique way of trying to claim that we had found the right chicken. And I think it was kind of known amongst everybody that none of us were actually finding the right chicken. It was just some fun little thing to do. And then I think the other cool thing here was that it gave me a chance to mess around a little bit with some audio editing and stuff. That's another thing I like to do, is if there's something you can do editing wise, and it's not like you're trying to make your video better or different or stand out. Now, that could be your motivation. I mean, each person's motivation is a little bit different. For me, I really love the whole process of creating videos and editing. So I'm always trying to think of ways to edit something that maybe I haven't tried before, or maybe something that pushes a boundary on something I haven't really done before. Also, it kind of gives a different, unique experience to the viewer from other episodes they've watched that I've done. So with this one, it was that Stina Rosa's real-life son had recorded an audio track talking about the chicken of knowledge, trying to find it or something like that. And so I just thought it'd be fun to do this little audio edit trick where I acted like I'm carrying around this cell phone, and I call this hotline, and I like did some audio editing with the EQ of her son's voice, and I made it sound like it was on a phone line. And so I called into the hotline, and there's her son explaining about the chicken, and so I kind of incorporate that in there as well. It makes the story more immersive. It makes it a little bit more fun for the audience. And for me personally, I feel like I've explored an editing style, or I've done something more than. I'm not saying that this is bad, because some people do this and become highly successful with it. For me, I can't just hit record something, and then render it out and be done with it. I want to like experiment with the editing style or something like that. That's what kind of pushed me to come up with the whole title sequence for this series, and the overlays that show up for the Discord and Twitter, and all of it following like an 80s theme. It's like I've got all these little elements in the background that I kind of want to all tie together. I also grew up in a time where, there wasn't internet, and there wasn't video on demand. Cartoons were on at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock when you got home from school, and then they were on Saturday mornings. And if you didn't catch them, you didn't see them. And so the whole experience of watching a cartoon and seeing a commercial, and and you can't fast forward through it, and you can't hit pause if you got to go to the bathroom, or if your brother or sister are yelling at you, or your mom says, "I told you to clean your room," you quit watching that show and you go clean your room. All those different emotions and all that different nostalgia. So I thought it would be fun to try and incorporate that. And a lot of my videos, I try to do that where it feels like a TV show. Now, you can do things like that, but you also have to be mindful of, and I wasn't mindful of this when I first started, but you have to be mindful of your audience. This is something entertainers just need to learn, which is the saying, know your audience. If you're a comedian telling certain jokes, there's certain jokes you're not going to tell to one audience versus another. If you're a musician, you're playing certain kinds of music, and you got a few songs you want to choose from, depending on the type of audience you're playing to, you may not play certain songs, you may play other ones. You have to know your audience. And so with building content that goes on YouTube, people are going to lose interest really fast. Your videos have to get going, get to the point. Like a lot of people that do tutorial videos, and they start out the first 5 minutes explaining to you why they haven't put out a video in 3 months, how they've been doing in real life, that they hope to be putting out more videos soon, and oh, by the way, go check out their blog that they just updated the first time in the past 2 months. Now let's get on to the tutorial. You've lost half your audience. There's nothing more frustrating than, I clicked on this video because I want to see a tutorial, and you're telling me your life story about your channel. If I wanted to know about your life story about your channel, then make a video called The Life Story About My Channel, and if I want to know that, I'll click on it. You have to be very targeted and specific. So what I've tried to do over the years is title sequences, intros, things like that, outros. Be much more mindful about, if you don't get it going within 10-15 seconds, you might be losing people. And you can look at your own analytics. If you're putting out videos, you'll notice that in a watch time drops off real quick, usually within the first 30% of the video, because most people just lose interest. I think it's called a retention rate, keeping people watching it. If you can keep that retention rate like 30 to 50%, you're usually doing fairly decent. But yeah, that was this episode. I feel like maybe I rambled a little bit in this one, but I hope I gave you some good stuff. I'm trying to make these where it's partially advice on how to make your own YouTube videos and Minecraft videos based off of what I've learned. I don't feel like I'm any expert. But also, and just giving some insight into like mindsets and approaches and techniques, different things I've tried to do on these series, and then every once in a while maybe tell some stories about the series as well. But I hope everybody's enjoying this. If you are, please comment in the comment section down below, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.